and then you fill in the blank, right? So Moses says, what if they don't believe me? Well, what if I'm not good enough, or young enough, or old enough, or smart enough, and we start listing our shortcomings as if God doesn't know them. And look at what God says. And the Lord says to him, what is in your hand? What is in your hand? So Moses says, a staff. The Lord says, throw it on the ground. So Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. And the Lord says, reach out your hand and take it by the tail. So Moses reaches out his hand and took the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. So let me highlight a few things that we can learn from this story. First thing is, we all have something in our hand. Right? We all have something in our hand. And you look at your hand and you say, well, I don't have. Moses had a staff, right? What do I have? I have nothing. Look at me. I've got nothing. What do I got? Well, what does this staff represent? Okay, let's look at it that way. Think of Moses' staff. Moses' staff represented his identity, right? I'm a shepherd. Shepherds have staffs, right? What's your identity? What is your identity? And are you willing to release your identity to God? I remember sitting in a huge, well, actually it was a baseball facility in Minneapolis at a Promise Keepers conference where God called me to lay down my identity. I was a high school teacher at that point, about 24 years in, loving my life as a teacher. That was my identity. And the Lord said to me, you're not going to be a teacher for the rest of your life. Get prepared for full-time ministry. So he asked me to lay down my identity. What is he asking of you for 2025? Is there some part of your identity that you are hanging on to that you need to release? Well, the other thing that staff is for Moses, that staff represented his income. Right? That's the way he made his living. He didn't have a credit card or a bank account. He had a staff. Really, and that was his livelihood. What's in your hand? What's your livelihood? You know, I had no idea what God was up to when he said, you're not going to be teaching for the rest of your life. Get ready for full-time ministry. So Fedor uses his rational brain to figure this out, right? Well, I'm coming up to 25 years of teaching. If I teach 5 more years, that's full pension, right? Then I'll be self-sufficient, and God, you can do anything you want with me, right? And 6 months later, I get an invitation to join staff at Circle Drive Alliance Church.